design fair, Salone in Milan in this April. And the idea is how from next year, all of our appliances, or at least all of the appliances produced by the Indesit Merloni Hotpoint group will have a little chip that allows them to be online. And they came to us with a very precise question, when you have everything online, what will you do with that? And so we started thinking about how we can do an easier interface. The washing machine is still something where usually you need to look at the manual. But when you got an iPad, you don't look at the manual, it's intuitive. So can we actually, when everything is online, can we use an easier interface? Can we even solve some small problems, like when you cook, you usually go back and forth with the recipe on your computer and back to the place for cooking and so on. How can all this brought seamlessly on the cooking table, like here, where actually every place is a place where you can cook and you have information at your fingertips. So here is the pavilion we did in Milan. So this is, and I'm going more from the scale of the home to the larger scale. So, going back to the public space and the city. This is another project. It's a project we did in Zaragoza at the World Expo. That was just in 2008 before Shanghai. And the mayor came to us before the expo. The theme of the expo was water. Because is there any way we can actually use water in a new way thanks to digital technology? Water has been a great ingredient of architecture in the past, especially in Spain, in Italy, in all the Mediterranean region. Can we use it in a different way? And we had some workshop at MIT, and one of the ideas that came up was, imagine you have a pipe, and this pipe has many solenoid valves, opening and closing very fast. Then you can actually create a water curtain, where you can control drops of water one by one, so you can use it for writing, for showing images, patterns, text. You can also make it interactive, so if you have a sensor when somebody is jumping, it opens up to let you jump through. Well, this was the initial idea we presented to the mayor liked it. So we got a commission to design the pavilion at the entrance of the expo. It's called Digital Water Pavilion. The whole pavilion is made of water. There's no doors or windows, but when you approach it, it opens up to let you in. And then when you're inside, all of the walls actually expand and shrink if there's more people or less people. So the space becomes fluid inside. The roof is also covered with a thin layer of water. And then, if there's too much wind, you can actually lower the roof to minimize splashing. Or at the end of the day, you can close the pavilion and the whole architecture disappears. Hopefully without anybody underneath. There are sensors for that as well. Well, here you can see the building before the opening. This guy, you don't see the face very well, but he was very puzzled, very concerned about what was happening. Here it was myself trying not to get wet, testing the sensors to get into the building. Now, I should tell you now what happened one night. when all of the sensors that detect people when they approach the building stopped working. You know, we were terrified because the building would keep doing its own crazy things, you know, but didn't respond anymore to people. But actually, that night was one of the most fun nights, because that night, thousands of kids from all of Zaragoza came to the pavilion to engage and play in a different game. Not anymore a pavilion that opens up to let you in, but a pavilion you had to cheat like this. For us it was interesting because as architects, as engineers, we always think how people will use these things we design, but actually, you know, reality, especially when you design interactive things, and especially human reality, is always a surprise. In this case, it was a good surprise. Now, from those were like pixels made of water. Now think about pixels in the air, pixels, drops of light in the air, because the follow-up project we're still working on. And imagine you can actually use the small helicopters that we all know about, that just, you know, are a few dollars or $1, and we can use them in a different way, like this. So how you can use it in order to create surfaces, but you go a bit beyond 2D. How this can become a full 3D kind of space where you can control light and bring light into space in different ways. How you can then, you know, arrange them in different ways with different type of resolutions. Almost like your computer screen where it become, you know, floating in the air, and then this could become fully three-dimensional, so then, you know, you can see things from different points of view, and it becomes like not only a 2D display, but almost like a full 3D. Well, you know, some of this was real, some of this was computer generated. Here you see some of the real ones, actually tested. Then this was in our lab. You turn on the lights. It looks pretty bad. That's all the little mosquitoes on the floor. But we're working on it, and actually we'll have a next ramped-up prototype pretty soon. We have done several iterations of them, and now we're able to control them very, very precisely. So we'll have some new things soon. I wanted to go all the way to the urban scale. We saw the scale of the person, the scale of the home, the kitchen, the scale of the pavilion and public space, and then the scale of the city. And this, for instance, is a new neighborhood we are designing in Mexico. It was presented by the Mexican president, Calderon, at the World Economic Forum a few months ago. And what we're trying to do here is actually look at how a smart technology, a smart city, can also become much more human, because it allows us to do things we couldn't do before, like living and working outdoors. Till a few years ago, we were in our offices chained to a desk. We couldn't really move. There was not enough wireless connectivity. But today we can be much more flexible in the things we do. And here it is actually the city becomes really a place where we can work outdoors. Guadalajara is, you know, it's a place where it's always, they say it's always spring or summer. Sometimes it's cloudy summer or sunny summer, but it's always kind of very good weather. Sometimes a bit hot. And, but then, you know, you can actually use the courtyards, in this case, as new places for working. The whole office is most of the time outdoor. And of course, we need to solve some things about, you know, lighting levels, about how to get power, and so on. So that's the new development that's next to this park called Parque Morelos. Next to it, you have a World Heritage Site called Hospicio Cabañas, with beautiful courtyards, traditional ones. And then really we started from the courtyards to imagine these new type of spaces for living and working like this. We can be inside, outside, have meetings, have more privacy, less privacy, but a more friendly way of working than being in a big glass box, as it happens in many office developments around the world today. Some of the old curtains and some of the new ones. Yes. And so, you know, in the concept, we are still working on the project. In the concept, we actually focus on the whole master plan, but we also invited some of the what we thought were key, cool digital designers from all over the world to also imagine how these courtyards could be in a more crazy way. This is actually UDA from Torino. This is Jürgen Meyer from Germany. We imagine this. This is Meijin Yoon from the United States. This is actually one of our visions of how the courtyards can become almost like an interface between this physical and digital world where we're working. Now, I gave you this as a quick overview between the projects, the sensing component and the actuating component. How this is changing the way we can collect information from our environment and respond to them. And design, of course, is one of the key ways to respond to them. I wanted to share with you one project in more detail, just to say something about what we think is the big challenge